In this video, we'll give you an introduction to how to work with CSS, cascading style sheets. The basic concept is that our markup, while providing some default styling in the browsers, our markup provides hooks that we can use to select and provide specific styles to anything we'd like. So those hooks include tags, classes, and even ID attributes. We're going to focus mostly on tags and classes in our work in this class, but know that ID attributes are discussed in the lesson, and you can see how those are done in very similar fashion to what we're going to look at here. But in order to apply styles, we need to first attach a style sheet, and we have two primary ways of doing that. One of those is to do what we call an embedded style sheet, whereby we add a style tag at the top of the document like this, and then we can add particular styles. So let's test by selecting all paragraphs and turning them red. There you can see with that simple selector, we selected by tag, the P tag, and said, hey, any P tags in this document need to get the color of red. Now, the upcoming lessons are going to go into all kinds of details about the various properties that we have and all the different potential that we have to affect type styles, backgrounds, borders, and even layout things. We'll stick with some of these more basic properties in this discussion. Our focus here is really to go over the different ways to attach style sheets and to select things. So there we have used the P selector to affect our styles, and we have used an embedded style sheet to do that. So this kind of approach is great for when you have a set of styles you want to apply to just this one document. But in a website where we have multiple files, it sure would be a hassle if we had to put all the styles for an entire site in every single page. Think of all the copies of all that code that if you change one thing, you'd have to go and change in all those different places. What a pain. So the other method that we use, and often use even when we have only one document, considering it best practice, is to use an external style sheet. With external style sheets, we would create a new file, perhaps called styles.css, and we would place our styles in here. In this case, we do not need any style tag like we used in the embedded style sheet. We would just enter our styles directly. Let's say in this case that we want to turn all hyperlinks green. Okay, so we have created this style, but you can see it's not, oops, I guess we need to actually declare the color property. You can see it's not having an effect. That's because we have not told this HTML file about that style sheet. So what we need to do is provide a link attribute or a link tag in the header here that points to our styles.css, as well as using the a few other configurations here, just like that. Now you can see that we have selected all those hyperlinks and turned them green through this external style sheet. Okay, so we're going to continue working in this external style sheet, but make sure that you note that both provide options that may be helpful in different cases. So we've talked about tag selectors so far. So we can select the body as a whole to apply some settings. So we could say font family helps to spell your properties correctly, right? And we could go with a sans serif font instead of the serif font. Now you can see that a sans serif font has been applied everywhere because most of things are inside of body. Okay, but now maybe we want to say, hey, what about H1s or H2s? Let's say, what if we want them to be font weight normal instead of bold? Okay, so see there we changed all these H2s to be font weight normal instead of bold. Now what if we wanted hyperlinks that are inside of these H2s to not be blue? Perhaps we want them to be black or red. In that case, we can use a nested selector. So you can see if we select all hyperlinks, we can turn their color to red. Okay, but maybe we don't want that for those inside of H2s. Maybe we want those black. In that case, we can say hyperlinks that are inside of H2s. So we describe that with the thing at the end. We say hyperlinks inside of H2s. And that means we're going to style we're going to actually apply styles to the thing that's at the end here, the A tag. But it's coming not to all A's, but only the A's that are inside of H2s. So you can see these two A tags are inside of H2s, whereas these are not inside of H2s. So if we say color green, now we've applied that style more selectively to only the hyperlinks that are inside of H2s, rather than to all hyperlinks. Okay, so you can see that the matter here becomes knowing what we want to select and finding a selector that allows us to get to that element. So we can use nested selectors to become more specific. We can also, and so far we've only been using tags, we can also use selectors that target things based on their class. So for example, let's say we want to take and style the div that has a class of menu. So that's going to be this one right here. We may be able to say, hey, that thing that has a class of menu looks like this, where we put the class name with a period in front of it. That means class set to menu. Let's say we make a border of 1 pixel green. Okay, and you can see we put a class around specifically that thing. Whereas if we had made this divs, because that's a div, now we get a border around every div. Okay, well maybe we didn't want that. Maybe we wanted it only on the menu. Okay, so we can use class selectors to be more specific. We can even combine classes and tags to make nested selectors. So up here we have li elements. So let's say, or hyperlinks. So let's say we have nav A, because these are hyperlinks inside of nav, and let's say we want their color to be blue, and we want no underline. Okay, so now they're blue with no underline. All right, but what if the one that's sort of the current one, the one that we're on currently right now, well, we could put a class on that one. So this is an li, and we could now say, how about hyperlinks that are inside of something with a class of A, or a class of active? So we could say active A. So hyperlinks inside of something with a class of active. So maybe we make this one's color, or let's do font weight bold. So that's new, but maybe we're going to go back and put on the text decoration after all. Decoration underline. Okay, so now we made that one that is inside of active be bold and have an underline. Okay, so you see we have all kinds of power when we use our tag selectors, our class selectors, and we put them in nested fashion to provide more specific ways of targeting things. All right, we're going to unpack all of this in the exercises and things coming up, especially as we dive in the upcoming lessons to all the different things that we can do with CSS. But you've had an introduction now to how we attach style sheets and how we select elements by tag and by class, and we can even make use of nested selectors.